For 50 years, since the United Nations was founded and its Charter of Non-Discrimination proclaimed in 1945, and for 47 years, since the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was signed by all nations in the world in 1948, there has remained a conspiracy of silence about the human rights of sexual minorities. It is only as lesbian and gay people speak openly and name the abuses done to all sexual minorities and demand accountability for them that we can hope to see them included in the human rights agenda for the future. If the human rights of any group are left behind, the human rights of all are incomplete.
Part 1 of the tribunal focused upon human rights violations based on sexual orientation. The first speaker is Herbert Mondlane from Zimbabwe.
As a gay man in Zimbabwe, I have no place, I have no voice, I have no status, simply because of my sexual orientation. Homosexuality is illegal under the Sexual Offences Act, which classifies gayness together with bestiality, incest, child abuse, and prostitution. The Zimbabwe International Book Fair is an annual event and is the largest event of its kind in Africa. The theme of this book fair was human rights and justice. That was the theme of the book fair for 1995. Naturally, girls, like any other civic organizations, applied to participate in the book fair. However, on the eve of the event, the Zimbabwean government issued a directive to the book fairs to expel girls from the fair. The organizers obliged. At the official opening of the book fair, President Robert Mugabe took the issue further by attacking gays and lesbians in a very hard-hitting speech, calling homosexuality immoral and an abhorrent Western import. And he stated that he found it extremely outrageous and repugnant that such immoral and repulsive organizations like those of homosexuals should have any advocates in our midst, end of quote. In one of his homophobic statements, he closed his remarks by saying, open quote, Americans should keep their foolish and stupid ways to themselves, end of quote. There's been a suggestion in the Zimbabwean parliament to quarantine gay people. Remarks such as those made by President Mugabe, especially emanating from a head of state, not only legitimize, but encourage precisely the sort of rights violations to which gays are subjected to around the world. African gays, we are regarded as victims of decadent Western culture. You know the argument. It is said everywhere that homosexuality is alien to African culture. But today, ladies and gentlemen, I stand here as testimony that African gays exist. We call upon the international community to pressure African governments to stop oppressing gay men and gay women now. Tomorrow might be too late. I thank you.
The final section of the tribunal focused on violations based on gender identity and sexual orientation.
Así compré la casa para educar a los 17 hijos que adopté y crié. Las madres biológicas.
Bought a house to raise the 17 children which I adopted and raised. The biological mothers had abandoned them or had given them to me so I could raise them. When I had to choose between my children and a man, I chose my children. When they became adults in 1881, I went to Chile to undergo surgery, since the sex change surgery is forbidden by law in Argentina. In Chile, the surgery is legal, and I obtained a legal ID with a woman's name. In Chile, I married an Argentinian man. Together, we went back to Argentina and adopted Mayra in 1990. Mayra's mother started to blackmail me. First, she demanded money, then a lot and a house.
Me amenazó con denunciarme. Me lo pidió a cambio de la nena. Cuando me negué,
When I refused, she reported me to the police. Soon thereafter, there was a big police raid in my workplace on May 17, 1993. I was arrested and taken to the police precinct of Berazategui in the province of Buenos Aires. At 2:30 a.m. the next morning, the police came to my house and took away Mayra and the two twins, Luciano and Leonardo. I was submitted to a long interrogation regarding my gender, my clothing. They mocked me, despised me, and took off my clothes. Police officers of both genders forced me to show my genitals, as if I were an exotic animal in a zoo. I was accused of abduction of minors and document forgery. The chief of police took pity on me and sent me to the women's prison. I was in detention for 10 days. By then, the police treated me better, but my life, which had always been private, had become the subject of public discussion. The press exposed it in big headlines, calling me the transvestite mother, denouncing the international trafficking of minors, and giving away false and morbid details. The Argentinian public was not fooled, however, and I received affection and empathy from everyone. I became the symbol of Argentinian motherhood. Yet, the judge continued to deny the right to see my children. The current warden of minors requested of the judge an order for new psychological tests, both for me and the children. The judge, however, denied this request and ordered the case to proceed. I recused the judge due to his prejudice, and the recusal is now pending before the appellate chamber of Quilmes, a department of the province of Buenos Aires. If the decision is adverse, I will have to appeal to the Supreme Court of Buenos Aires, and if that court also rules against me, I will then have to go before the Supreme Court of Argentina. Only then will I be able to appeal to the international courts. Yet, by then, many years will have passed, and who knows if by then my children will remember me. In 1995, I requested identification documents with my female gender and with my woman's name. The judge even refused to consider my petition.
dice que necesariamente los hijos tienen que depender de las madres biológicas.
Listening to these powerful testimonies was a panel of judges convened to provide their expert guidance and opinion about the stories we have just heard and the struggles faced by sexual minorities around the world.
The first remarks are spoken by Rory Kennedy, reading a statement from Carrie Kennedy Cuomo, former executive director of the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Center.
It is truly heartening when we refuse to be overwhelmed by the enormity of the task to fight discrimination, bigotry, and homophobia. These testimonies give us the strength to persevere. All of us, especially members of the human rights community, have a role beyond listening to these testimonies. That is, roles of exemplar, groundbreaker, of guiding light for all of us involved in social justice. But in order to do justice to the bravery and strength of the individual testifiers, we must all carry their message to our friends, families, and communities to ensure that all people are able to live with dignity and respect.